Choosing the research topic and the question for your master's paper is hugely important. Make sure you take lots of time to think about the information on this slideshow and also to think about your question and your topic. If it's something that you choose well, it will serve you well throughout the entire process. If not, it can cause lots of grief and heartache along the way. First, we want to think generally about a topic for your paper. As you think about that, please consider these points. The topic needs to be something that will improve your teaching. It needs to be something that ultimately then would improve the learning of your students. It needs to be something that can be done in your classroom with your students. And finally, the topic needs to be something you are interested in and that you are motivated to learn more about. This is most important because if you choose a topic just because you think, well, this is a good topic or this is timely, but you're not interested in it, then this process is going to be long and tedious. But if you choose something that you really want to learn about, it will be positive. Also, sometimes students choose topics that they feel really passionate about because they know that it will be so interesting to them and they've always wanted to learn more. But at other times, students will choose a topic that they almost feel a little deficient in. Something where they say, you know, I would be a much better teacher if I learned more about this. And they use the whole process as a learning experience. Whichever way you decide to go, make sure that the topic that you choose is something that you are motivated to learn. Let's consider some sample topics. Topics you see here are connected to technology, working with ELL, best practices, using engaging activities, journal writing or any other kind of writing, classroom management, effective assessment, culturally responsive teaching, or strategies that benefit special education students. These are just some ideas for topics. A topic can be anything that can be done in your classroom with your students. So think about the culture of the classroom and think about what happens there. It could be connected to your content area. It could be connected to how you teach that content, to method. It could be connected to things that are not academic, such as building community in the classroom or classroom management. Anything that happens in the classroom, anything that's going on between the students and the teacher and the content is a possible topic. You might want to look at things that are timely and in the news, things that are new in the field of education. There are all kinds of ways to consider a topic that you might choose for your action research paper, and that is the first step. Once you've chosen your topic, then we want to make it more specific to a research question that will fit Chapter 2. So as you think about moving from topic to question, think about these questions to help you get there. What is it you really want to know? How specific can you be about that at this point? You might not be able to be real specific yet, and that's really okay, but we want you to be as specific as you can. How would you find out what it is you want to know? We want to make sure that whatever question you end up with is measurable. How would you get an answer? Can the question even be answered? And if you got the answer, would that answer improve your teaching and ultimately your students' learning? And if so, how? Follow this trail of questions as you think about moving from your topic to your question to make sure that the question is something that will work for you in Chapter 2 and also lead to Chapter 3 eventually. You will want your question to be somewhat specific at this point. The questions on this slide are actually quite general. Let's just take a look at them. Does using technology to communicate with students and parents improve student success? Do hands-on learning activities in math improve student understanding of a math concept? What is the best way to differentiate music instruction in a choir setting? Does the use of journal writing improve understanding in science? Can concept maps and graphic organizers as assessment help students show understanding? Does partner and group work improve student achievement in an English classroom? What is the effect of guided reading on student reading proficiency? Does the use of primary documents in a history classroom improve student engagement? Does the inclusion of real-world examples in a geometry classroom improve student understanding of geometric concepts? These are general questions, and the questions are just examples of the many questions that you could possibly come up with. You could also make these questions more specific, even at this point, by adding a certain grade level, or by adding a certain content area. For example, your first question might be, does using technology to communicate with students and parents improve student success in a kindergarten classroom? Or a question might be, does partner and group work when studying the Harlem Renaissance improve student achievement in an English classroom? So you can add the content that you're teaching, the age that you're teaching, to make the question more specific at this point. Eventually, the question will be made even more specific later. So take a minute and think about moving from your topic to your question. What would your question look like at this point? What question would guide the research you are going to be doing for Chapter 2? The question you come up with for now will serve you through Chapter 2, and sometimes it even adjusts and changes a little bit when working on Chapter 2. But it will change for sure as you move into Chapter 3. So you also want to be just thinking about that right now. You want it sort of on the back shelf of your mind so that when you get to Chapter 3, you know that your question will work. So when chapters 1 and 2 are complete and you move to chapter 3, which is your own research related to something that you've learned in chapter 2, you will revise this question again. The question at that point will be much more specific. But it's not important to think about that specificity right now. Sometimes doing the research helps you get there. Sometimes the actual final question emerges when you do the literature review in chapter 2. So right now you just want to think about the possibilities. So at this point, you've thought about a topic, or you're thinking about one. You're thinking about moving that topic to something a little bit narrower, which is your chapter 2 research question. And then later, when you get to chapter 3, you will make that question even more specific, even smaller, so that it is very much tied to your individual research. So let's just review the things that are important for you to remember at this point. Your action research topic and question needs to be something that can be done with your students in your classroom. It needs to be directly connected to a part of your literature review, something that you learned as you were writing chapter 2. It needs to be a question that, if answered, you can use as a teacher. It's practical. It's something you can do, something that will improve your teaching. It needs to be something that you have passion about and interest in. This is a long process. Make it as positive as it possibly can be by making sure you are interested in the topic and finding the answer to your question. It needs to be something that you will be proud to share. Action research is all about improving teaching. It is about offering things to your field, to your career. You are going to be a teacher leader. You are going to be someone who contributes to what good teaching is and looks like. That's what this is all about. So what will you study? What will you research? It's time to start the process.